You've been lied to about how hard you need to try. Every visualization board, every affirmation screened into a mirror, every white-knuckle attempt to force the universe into cooperating, all of it is built on a model of effort that works against the very mechanism it's trying to use. By the end of this, you'll understand why the people who seem to attract everything they want look so calm doing it. And if you've ever felt exhausted from trying to manifest something and getting silence back, the reason is mechanical, predictable, and fixable. Think about the last time you were completely absorbed in something you loved. Maybe it was a conversation that made 3 hours vanish. Maybe it was a project where you forgot to eat. You weren't pushing, you weren't forcing anything, and yet the output was probably some of the best work you've ever done. That state, where action flows without friction, is the closest everyday analogy to what alignment actually feels like. The problem is that most manifestation advice tells you to do the opposite. Clench harder, want more, visualize until your forehead hurts. This creates a paradox that most people never resolve. When you grip something tightly, your body enters a stress state, your decision-making narrows, your peripheral awareness shrinks. You start filtering reality through a single obsessive lens. Do I have it yet? Is it coming? Why isn't it here? And that filter blinds you to the very opportunities, connections and openings that would actually move you toward what you want. You're so busy staring at the door you decided it should come through that you miss the window that's been open behind you for months. Alignment works on a completely different operating principle. Instead of deciding on a specific outcome and then muscling reality into delivering it, alignment starts with an internal state, a frequency, if you want to use that word, though the mechanism is more grounded than it sounds. When your internal state matches the emotional signature of what you want, when you already feel the security, the abundance, the connection, your behavior shifts without conscious effort. You make different choices at breakfast. You respond to emails differently. You walk into rooms carrying something people can sense but can't name. And those tiny behavioral shifts compound in ways that look like luck from the outside. A researcher at the University of Hertfordshire spent 10 years studying people who consistently described themselves as lucky. What he found had nothing to do with cosmic forces. The lucky people had a wider attentional field. They noticed more. They talked to strangers more often. They varied their routines. They were, in a measurable sense, more open, and that openness created more surface area for opportunity to land on. The unlucky people were tense, focused, anxious. They walked past the same opportunities without registering them. So what changed between the two groups? Tension. One group was gripping, the other was open. This maps directly onto what happens when you try to manifest from force versus alignment. Force narrows you. You become rigid, specific, brittle. You write down a red car by March 15th, and then spend every day measuring the gap between where you are and where you think you should be. That gap generates frustration. Frustration generates more gripping. The cycle feeds itself. Alignment does something structurally different. When you settle into the feeling of already having what you want, genuinely in your body, the warmth of it, the ease of it, your brain stops scanning for the gap. It starts scanning for matches. Same brain, same eyes, different filter, and the things that match start showing up in your attention with a regularity that feels almost eerie. Your skeptic brain is pushing back right now. Good. Because the weakest version of this argument is the magical one, that vibrations attract physical objects across space and time. The strongest version is neurological and behavioral. Your attention is a filter. That filter is shaped by your emotional state. Your emotional state determines which subset of reality you actually perceive and respond to. And your responses are what create your results. Every link in that chain is measurable. Every link is ordinary. The output just looks extraordinary because most people never adjust the filter. Picture two people walking through the same neighborhood. One just got devastating news. Their world has collapsed to a single point of pain. They see nothing. The other just fell in love. The trees look greener. They notice a cafe they've walked past 100 times. They smile at someone who smiles back and mentions a job opening. Same street, same afternoon. One person's filter is open, the other's is welded shut. Now extend that across weeks, months, years. The compounding difference between those two filters explains almost everything people attribute to luck, blessing, or manifestation. The real skill, then, has nothing to do with vision boards, or scripting, or repeating phrases. The real skill is emotional regulation. Can you hold the feeling of abundance when your bank account says otherwise? Can you carry the calm of someone who already has what they want, while still taking action toward it? That tension between feeling complete and still moving forward is where most people break. They think feeling satisfied will kill their motivation. The opposite happens. Satisfaction removes desperation, and desperation was never fuel, it was friction. Think about every desperate decision you've ever made, the job you took because you were panicking, the relationship you stayed in because you were afraid to be alone, the investment you made because everyone else was making money and you felt left behind. Desperation distorts judgment the way a funhouse mirror distorts a face. The features are all there. The proportions are wrong. When you operate from alignment, from a place where you already feel whole, your decisions carry a different quality. You negotiate differently because you're willing to walk away. You create differently because you're playing instead of performing. You connect differently because you're offering presence instead of needing validation. People feel this, they can't articulate it, but they lean toward it. Opportunities follow attention, and attention follows ease. There's a counter-argument worth respecting here. Some of the most driven, successful people in history were fueled by dissatisfaction, pain, even rage. They clawed their way to outcomes through sheer force, and they got results. The question is, what those results cost? Burnout rates among high achievers are staggering. The ones who built empires through force often describe feeling empty inside the castle they constructed. They manifested the thing. They just forgot to manifest the feeling they thought the thing would give them. So they build another castle, and another. The hunger never resolves, because the mechanism that drove the building is the same mechanism that prevents the satisfaction. Alignment sidesteps this trap entirely. When you start from the feeling, the external results become confirmation rather than the source. You enjoy the process of building because the building itself feels like expression, like play. The outcome matters less because the emotional payoff is already present in the doing. This is why aligned action feels effortless. The effort is still there. You're still working, still showing up, still making calls and writing drafts and having hard conversations. The friction is gone. You're pushing a boulder downhill instead of up. The weight of the work is the same. The direction changed everything, and that directional shift starts in a place most people overlook: the body. You can't think your way into alignment. You've tried. Everyone has. You sit down to visualize, and your mind races to every reason it won't work. The entry point is somatic: a breath that drops your shoulders, a walk that loosens your jaw, music that puts you in a state before your analytical mind can object. The body leads. The mind follows. Every spiritual tradition on earth figured this out independently. Prayer beads, chanting, rhythmic movement, breathwork. The words and frameworks differ. The mechanism is identical. Shift the body first, and the mind has no choice but to come along. Once you're in that state, relaxed, open, warm, the instructions you give yourself land differently. A goal spoken from ease encodes differently than a goal spoken from desperation. One is an invitation, the other is a demand. And reality, which is really just shorthand for the sum of your unconscious decisions, responds to invitations far more reliably than demands. So the next time you catch yourself clenching around a desire, jaw tight, chest contracted, mentally rehearsing all the ways it might fall apart, try something counterintuitive. Stop trying harder. Drop into your body. Find the version of you that already has this thing, and notice what that person feels like. Loose hands, slow breath, a quiet certainty that asks for nothing because it already knows. That version of you makes better decisions than the frantic one. Every single time. And those decisions, compounded across days and weeks, produce results that look like magic to anyone who wasn't watching the filter change. The effort was never the problem, the direction was.